Yay. Okay. Hi, friends. So, we are going to continue to explore a few more elements of culture just to make sure we understand the core definitions. So, the one that we're going to start off with today is the element of ethnicity. This is something that a word that gets thrown around quite frequently and confused with some of the other terms that I want to make sure that we are understanding. So, when we talk about ethnicity, we're talking about shared cultural characteristics that a group has. And we've talked about what some of the different groups are. So, this can be any type of group that identifies themselves with a place or with a country or with a common history. Um, and then they share customs and traditions, which we've talked about. Sometimes ethnicity is ends up meaning the same thing as race, which we're going to discuss in just a minute. But sometimes they're two very different things. So often, like we will hear of people refer to a race as being Black or African American or Latino, and even though they're referring to a race, in essence, they're also referring to an ethnicity in that case. Now, generally, people who come from a European descent will identify ethnicity as also being something that's connected with their historical background. So they may say, I have a German descent or a English descent, identifying whatever nationality they come from. So I want to make sure, and I'm going to hide this right here so you can kind of see the bottom. Sometimes this is referred to as a nationality. And when we speak of nationality, we're actually referring to the country of origin. So those three terms can sometimes get mixed up and thrown around. And I want to make sure that we understand specifically what we're talking about when we say ethnicity. So often when we say ethnicity, it's about the actual shared history, geographical origin, and common customs and traditions. One thing to keep in mind is that people will identify their own ethnicity and relate to their own group. So sometimes this is confusing to outsiders, anyone who is not a part of that particular group. And we've experienced that when we talked about ethnocentrism, but it is not about necessarily what they look like and what their physical features are and what their skin color is. Okay, that's a construct that our society made up when we talk about race. But ethnicity is something that is personal, that an individual will identify with. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I want you guys to take a look at the link in the notes just to kind of get some exploration on ethnic groups in Europe. So take a look at that and then answer the question when you're done. Okay, so we mentioned the word race. So race is a social term that refers to actual physical characteristics that are assigned by groups in power historically to classify people. Now, usually in our history, it's been a description of skin color, hair color and texture, facial features, and other physical characteristics. Historically, race has been used to segregate or separate groups and justify oppression. So, as a result, some racial groups have developed their own culture, and sometimes they refer to their ethnic group as their race. So, this is kind of a way for groups that have not been in power to sort of regain power and find a way to have identification with their group. I'm going to have you guys click on another link and explore this and then answer the question at the end. Okay, we're going to get into material culture a little bit. Material culture is going to be, it's very much going to shape the way we think, the way we act, what we value, what we believe, and it involves everything that's in our environment and surroundings. So, questions we would ask when we're trying to identify material culture would be, what does your home look like? What do your clothes look like? Do you have appliances? Do you have technology? What kinds of sports do you see? Leisure activities? Are there pets? Food? How food is prepared? So everything that's in your natural or in your material environment, The question would then be, how do I see some of these other elements of culture in the stuff that's all around me? So how do I see economics? How do I see power and government in play? How do I see customs and traditions? How is all of that identified in the stuff that I see? So there's a really cool experience that I want you guys to try out, where we're going to look at some pictures of families posing for images outside of their homes with everything they own removed from the inside and taken outside, so you can kind of get an idea of their material culture. So remember to, when you're thinking about material culture, that this is what describes what you can see. So when you visit someone's home or view pictures or see a video, you'll see their ethnicity, you'll see their art, you'll see their literature, you'll see gender roles, you'll see religion, family structures, language, norms, customs, and traditions. So I want to practice this new skill, which isn't new for all of you, but it's something, it's part of social science, and I'm sure you've experienced this in your science classes, but I want to make sure that we're doing that throughout whenever we are looking at information. And this is our observation versus interpretation skill. So when we observe, a sentence stem I want you to think about using is, I see blank, okay? And then actually fill in that blank with what you see. In other words, I do not want you to comment on what it might mean, or what your conclusions are, or how you feel or believe. Only what your eyeballs see. So this is when we do observations, and you've learned this in science classes, we're talking about what your senses pick up. So what you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, etc. When we reach the point then where we want to apply some interpretation, that's where we're going to comment on what we think it means. And this is where we start using our reasoning and our logic to say, okay, I see all of these pieces, pulling these ideas together, this is what it must mean. And this is a skill that I want you guys to practice right now. So first, I'm going to demonstrate it. I want you to take a look at this family. Some of you can maybe guess where this family is posing, or where this family is from, but a few things about what you're seeing that I will tell you before we start doing some observations. This, actually, nope, we're going to just do some observations. So let's start with that. So in this image, I am going to point out a few things that I see. I see a house, okay? I see a bicycle. I see some bags, okay, some burlap bags. I see some cooking utensils. I see what looks to be a bed. I see some images of what appear to be gods. I see that the roof of this house is like some type of natural fiber. I see that there's another house over here, or another building. Okay, keeping in mind that these are all of their belongings, so this is their material culture, what are some interpretations I might make? If this is everything they own, I think I might be able to interpret some of their values. Okay, since I don't see a car, I only see a bicycle, I'm going to draw the conclusion that this family has a low level of development. Okay, I'm also going to draw the conclusion that these bags are probably what holds their food. So it may be some type of grain that they use for cooking. It looks to me like, since most of their belongings have to do with food, that they live predominantly a subsistence lifestyle. Okay. And since their belongings also involve two images of gods, their religion must be very important to them. Okay. Are there a lot of clothes? Are there a lot of appliances? I don't see any of those types of things. So again, development. We're talking about potentially a periphery country. And I will tell you what I know of this image. This image was taken in India, and it's a very rural village in India. So I'm going to show you some more. And what I want you to do is I'm going to be quiet and I want you to identify observations. What are 2 to 3 things that you see in each image? And then I'm going to ask you to interpret. What does this mean about some of the elements of culture that we've been learning about? Okay, we'll start with this one.